to our 7th biannual finance conference organised by the Irish Council for Social Housing. You're very, very welcome. It's a different event this year than normally. Normally we'd be gathering together in some hotel in one of the regions, networking and coming together, sharing stories, sharing our experiences, asking those questions that we wanted to ask of our colleagues at the length and breadth of the sector. But for today, given the COVID-19 situation, we are gathering here through Zoom, and so you're very, very welcome. We have over 470 colleagues registered for the conference today, over the next 3 days. So 470 from approved housing bodies, the length and breadth of the country, from our partners in government, our partners in the civil service, in the departments, our partners in local government, in local authorities, the length and breadth of the country, from the housing agency, the finance agency, and our private partners as well, and especially our sponsors of today's event, AIB. So we're all here at the moment. As we just tune in here, I can see that there's 230 people have logged on this morning to join us. And our special guest this morning is our new Minister for Housing, Darragh O'Brien. You're very welcome, Minister. It's a different year for us this year in the Irish Council for Social Housing. We have many, many vulnerable people living in approved housing bodies. We have some of our poorest people who have been affected by unemployment as a result of the COVID-19 situation. Many of our tenants are senior citizens who've been asked to shield and to cocoon during this crisis, and now we're asking them to do that again. Many are homeless and are experiencing huge difficulties on a daily basis anyway, and the COVID is adding to that. We have many of our tenants are those with disabilities, and they've been asked to shield because of health issues. Many of them have had their workshops or their day centres or their education facility closed, and we're only beginning to open up over the last few weeks, and so they're facing challenges. But through all of those challenges, us as approved housing bodies and you as approved housing bodies have done your level best to ensure that all our tenants, the length and breadth of this country, have stayed safe. Today is a great day for the Council because what we're trying to do is keep things going, keep business as normal. Doyle McManus, our CEO, and all his team have put great work into getting this conference ready for us today. We have some exciting speakers over the next couple of days. We have great chairs who have volunteered and given of their time. They're made up of CEOs from across the approved housing bodies, our partners in government, our partners in local authorities, our partners in the private sector. And they will all share their stories and share their workshops for you between now and Friday. And we hope that you will log on to as many of them as possible. There'll be an opportunity to chat and ask questions, and the chairs will explain to you how you can do that over the next 3 days. We're also joined today by colleagues. It's quite an international event. We have colleagues today from across Europe, the UK, across America and Australia. Some of them are getting up now in the middle of the night. Some of them it's late in the evening. And you're very, very welcome to the 7th biannual Irish Council for Social Housing Conference. And we thank you for joining us. We need to look outward as well as inward to ensure that we're continuously developing and ensuring that the Irish Council for Social Housing and all its members are offering best practice and looking at new and innovative ways to deliver. And so we need to look at Australia, we need to look at the US, we need to look at our colleagues in Europe. And also we're proud of what we do here. We're proud of how we've developed our approved housing bodies over the last number of years, and we want to share that too with you. So you're very welcome. And most importantly, I want to welcome our Irish Council for Social Housing members, who are made up of approved housing bodies the length and the breadth of the country. So whether it's Donegal or Kerry, Bandon and Cork, you're very, very welcome. We have Tier 1 approved housing bodies with us today. They're approved housing bodies of units under 50. Many of them are specialist and local approved housing bodies that bring a local connection to communities and are helping to breathe life into some of our rural communities. We have our Tier 2 members, many of which are growing and developing and contributing to the targets this year. And then we have our Tier 3, which is our larger approved bodies. You would have seen many of the clips there. You would have seen many clips from developments, the length and breadth of the country. One of the big clips you saw at the beginning was from Tua Housing, who have led on some big projects, as have Clúid, as have Respond, as have Oakley. You saw the lovely clip of Oakley there as the conference opened up. And you saw the family who were once homeless and now have a home and a key to the door. And that's what we're all about in the Irish Council for Social Housing. And that's what we're all about in the approved housing bodies, is working with government, working with our partners in local authorities, the finance agency, the housing agency, to deliver good quality permanent homes for people. So whether you have a special need, whether you're on the housing list, whether you're a large family or a single individual, that's what we're here to do. In the mid-90s there, you know, or noughties I should say, we were delivering in the crisis a couple of hundred units a year. That's all we were delivering. But last year, in partnership with government, we delivered 4,100 units. And this year, we're hoping to beat that. We will be affected by the target somewhat and by the fact that construction was closed down for a number of months. But we're working closely with the new minister to make sure that we can deliver every single unit we possibly can and every key to the door that we can for 2020. And we're looking forward, COVID or not, to 2021 to deliver the highest number of units. You'll hear from speakers over the next couple of days where, you know, Respond had their AGM there very recently, and they've 700 and odd units ahead of target. They're joined by Clúid, Respond, you know, Oakley, Circle, Fold, so on and so on. And they will all help to make up those targets next year. And we hope to deliver a huge amount of new, good quality units next year on behalf of government in partnership with local authorities, the Housing Finance Agency and others. So I want to welcome you to the conference. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get what you looked for today. I hope you, you know, connect with people online and connect with people after the conference. The conference is only a tool and a strategy to ensure greater collaboration. I want to thank the Irish Council for Social Housing team. They have done a great job. So Doyle, Karen, Jill, Aideen, all of the gang, you have done a great job to get us here today, and we're really looking forward to it. That's enough for me as President. Just to say that I'm also the CEO of the Peanut McFerry Trust, and we're a proud member of the Irish Council for Social Housing. We've had, you know, a considerable time as a Tier 1. We were developing Tier 2, and of late we're a Tier 3. But we're only doing a tiny, tiny piece to offer some specialist housing to homeless people. And we look forward to working with all of you, our partners in government, our partners in local authorities in 2021, to deliver as many, many units. That's what it's about. It's not about us. It's not about organisations. It's about delivering keys to the door to as many families as possible. So I wish you well. I've enjoyed my experience as President of the Irish Council for Social Housing. There'll be an election at the end of the year, and I want to thank the team for putting up with me for the last 3 years. And thank you also. So without going any further, my main task today is to introduce our new minister. We've got a new Minister for Housing, Darragh O'Brien, Fianna Fáil TD, lives in Malahide, has had a huge interest in social justice over many years, has chaired the North Regional Task Force on Drugs and Alcohol, and anybody who does that job knows the link between drug and alcohol and homelessness and the need for more housing. He has hit the ground running. COVID or not, he's been everywhere. You know, he's been applying his social distancing, of course, but we've had him out to loads of projects. He has assisted loads of you in the launch of your strategic plans. He's set up a task force on housing, a task force on homelessness, and energy is the word you use in relation to the new minister. So, Minister, I want to welcome you on behalf of all our members of the Irish Council for Social Housing to what I hope will be the first of many conferences that you will launch for us in the years to come. So, Minister Darragh O'Brien, thank you. still waiting there for the Minister to come on, but while we're waiting, I will do some of the thank yous that I plan to do after the Minister speak. I want to thank AOB particularly for sponsoring this conference. I want to thank everybody for all the work they've done, and I want to thank Greg and the team here who is hosting this for us. They hosted their AGM for us earlier in the year and done a fantastic job. We were hoping to be in their studios in Ballymount, but with the whole COVID measures, we had to cancel that in the last couple of days. So they will take us through now what will be a packed 3-day conference. I'm just waiting now, you have to forgive me, just to see where our Minister is. Yes, I think our Minister is due to come on now, so I will again welcome our Minister Darragh O'Brien and thank him for joining us this morning. Minister, are you available there to join us? We can see you're online. I'm just hoping that you're available there. If you've just joined us, you're very welcome to the Irish Council for Social Housing 7th Biannual Conference. We now have 253 delegates joining us live streaming from Australia to America to Europe to the UK and back to Ireland. I see our CEO Doyle is there. Minister, you're very welcome.
Yeah, Gurmil Margaret Pat, Tabronum Fuishin. Small technical difficulty in the main office, so I had a very nice background earlier on, which is now gone. So, listen, can you hear me okay? Look, dus Pat Gurmil Margaret as the Falcha August the Cura August Dave Galera Wajan. So firstly, Pat, just to thank you for your very warm welcome, for your invitation to speak here today, and indeed for the honour that you've given me to open the biannual conference of the Irish Council for Social Housing. I really very much appreciate it. Apologies for the slight glitch at the start. A lot has changed, and you're right, Pat, in your introduction, since March of this year. The onset of global COVID-19 pandemic, the election of a new government, a new programme for government, our shared future, which makes resilience, recovery and delivery themes of this conference more apt than ever. The Irish Council for Social Housing makes a vital contribution to the voluntary housing sector. And I want to thank you, Pat, your board, your staff and all your members for your dedication, commitment and resilience, especially in these times of uncertainty and disruption. And of course, for organising this year's conference, no mean feat given the complexities that COVID continues to present, including technical ones that I had there this morning. Again, apologies for that. In my first 100 days in office, I've had the pleasure to visit and open a variety of housing schemes delivered in partnership with ICSH members. For example, in August, I got to officially open 2 new social housing schemes, turn the sod on a new housing development and visit 2 social housing projects currently under construction in Donegal. These developments represent an overall investment of almost €19 million in social housing provision in Donegal alone. One of the site visits I made was to a social and voluntary housing construction site at Railway Park, Donegal Town, which will see 34 new homes constructed, representing an investment of €5.3 million. 10 of these homes are being delivered by Oakley Housing Association using the capital assistance funding being made available by my department through Donegal County Council. And I look forward to hearing about the progress made on these homes. A couple of weeks ago, I had a real immense pleasure of being invited to visit the refurbished and high quality homes at St Mary's Mansion Complex in Dublin's North Inner City. An absolutely amazing visit. A €23 million redevelopment by Clúid Housing using CAF long-term loan funding from my department being made available through Dublin City Council and loan funding secured by the Housing Finance Agency and the European Investment Bank. Early consultation with the original residents was absolutely vital to the overall success of this project. To see the absolute joy that morning on the faces of some former residents returning to the complex for the very first time and walking through the front door of their new homes was seriously heartwarming. and it reinforces my determination to deliver on the for communities the commitment that we have made in the Programme for Government, Our Shared Future. This scheme, the St Mary's Mansion scheme, I said it on the morning, will be a flagship and is a model for future regeneration projects. 70-year-old apartment developments built during World War II, redeveloped to the highest specification. Absolutely magnificent, and I want to commend Clúid for the incredible work on Dublin City Council that they did there. Just 2 days ago, earlier this week, and you are right, I have been out and about, and obviously following all the necessary guidelines as one would expect. I was with the Taoiseach. I visited Cars Lane in Balgriffin, just on the border of my own constituency. That will deliver a mixture of 1, 2 and 3 bedroom homes in Q3 2021. And this is an example of partnership between both the local authority, Fingal, the voluntary housing sectors, in this case Respond, who are availing of CAF loan funding, being made available through my department and from the Housing Finance Agency. And one thing that struck me with that development in particular, something that we've discussed ourselves at the Housing Delivery Team Task Force, Pat, is that we're designing for communities different type of housing solutions, 2s, 3s, 1s, and that's what we need. We need to ensure that we're focusing our delivery on what our clients and what our citizens actually need. I also want to acknowledge, if I can, the resilience of you and your staff. Since the very start of the COVID emergency, the community and voluntary sector has been working on the ground and also at a national level with various government departments, not just my own. The community response has benefited from the sector's experience and the assistance you've provided and continue to provide, frankly. And it's a testament to your sense, all of your staff's sense of citizenship and community. One of the greatest assets in this country is the strength of our local community and voluntary networks, and our country would be lesser for it without our voluntary sector. The ICSH is an integral stakeholder within the housing and voluntary housing sectors, representing, as you've said earlier on, Pat, 270 member organisations, managing almost 40,000 homes and looking after 100,000 of our citizens all across the 26 counties of the Republic. These impressive statistics are achieved through the large reach of the ICSH members, which operate in every local authority area in the country and over 500 communities all across Ireland. The support, advice and services that you provide, not only to your members, but to the housing sector as a whole, has meant that in 2019, 41% of all long-term social housing was delivered by the voluntary sector in partnership with the local authority. And if you think of that number, 4 in every 10 of units delivered long-term through the voluntary sector. And look how far we've come since those small beginnings, and how far more indeed I believe we can travel together. The Council has already made a significant contribution to the effectiveness of the sector, to support for its members by providing advice, support and assistance on issues that they may be facing, including the move from the voluntary to statutory regulation, which will be very important for all of us and something that I'm absolutely committed to follow through as Minister, as well as representing and promoting the sector and its members across a broad spectrum of boards, groups and forums. And if I could say, your membership, Pat, under your leadership and with Donald's leadership, acquit themselves so well on all of those boards, groups and forums, where the reputation of the voluntary housing sector is absolutely superb, and that is a credit to all of you. It's long been my belief that the successes within the sector to date are linked strongly to the relationships, partnerships and cooperation of all the various stakeholders. It's essential now more than ever that these relationships and partnership continue and indeed grow into the future. That we're all united in our approach to tackling the housing and homelessness crisis, being resilient to the challenges we face, especially during these times, being innovative in our approach and thinking, and striving to work together in partnership. Working together in partnership is how we will achieve our goals. All of this effort will enable us to achieve our joint objective of delivering affordable, accessible, quality homes for all. And that's what I'm absolutely committed to doing as Minister for Housing. Is my main priority and government's priority is to tackle this housing crisis, deliver homes, secure and sustainable homes for people for life. And we have the wherewithal, we have the knowledge, we have the know-how, we have the ability to deliver it. even in these difficult times that won't be with us for too much longer, please God. Events such as your conference, the biannual conference, allow us to take an important, albeit short pause and examine additional financial and development mechanisms for the delivery of public, social and affordable housing in a rapidly changing environment, and to hear from international experts, as you've mentioned in your intro, and share best practice. And it's fantastic to see Oakley with their new SPV model in the video earlier on this morning. As I previously mentioned, 2020 has been a year of challenges and changes, and one of those changes being the new programme for government, which is our Shared Future. And this outlines the government's commitment to providing housing for all. I believe that everybody should have access to good quality housing built to a high standard, to purchase or rent at an affordable price. The state has a fundamental role in enabling the delivery of new homes and ensuring that best use is made of existing housing. While the COVID-19 pandemic presents challenges in maintaining the level of growth in 2020, I'm working with all stakeholders to recover from the unforeseen setback to ensure the delivery of new build homes continues to grow in the years ahead. Since taking up office, I've been meeting key stakeholders and gaining further insights into the challenges that lie ahead. I've outlined the ambitions of this government in the key areas of housing and homelessness, and I've asked them to be as ambitious in their pursuit of delivering the homes that we badly need. As you mentioned earlier on, Pat, I've established a top-level group of delivery partners, which includes both yourself, as you know, and indeed Doyle, your CEO, and we meet on a weekly basis to ensure that delivery is prioritised this year, taking into account the impact of the pandemic. Over the weeks ahead, I intend to expand this work to deal with the expedited delivery of social and affordable homes over the lifetime of this government. I want to thank you, Pat, in particular, and Donal, for your commitment to these regular task force meetings that really help to inform our actions on the ground on a week-to-week basis. The voluntary sector has contributed enormously to the delivery of new social housing homes over the past number of years, particularly using the CAF funding stream. CAF new build delivery has increased sevenfold since only 2016. And in 2019 alone, approved housing bodies delivered over 2,000 new build units, and that's excluding Part 5s. And it is envisaged that you will continue to play a pivotal role into the future. And I want that as Minister for Housing. Voluntary housing bodies using CAF have particularly focused on turnkey and construction projects. And I note the projects of increasing scale are being presented to my department. And that's actually what's needed. Let's show our ambition in the projects that we want to deliver. These organisations are working in partnership and collaboration with our local authorities who do fantastic work on the ground. And it's really important that we keep and cherish that relationship between the voluntary sector and our local authorities and continue to develop that further. And currently we've some 2,300 homes, over 92 projects on site across 26 local authority administrative areas. Similarly, throughout 2019, many organisations delivered homes for citizens with specific housing needs through the Capital Assistance Scheme, with 570 units being delivered. Unfortunately, it'll be no surprise to learn that due to the pandemic, the growth that had been projected for this year is falling below target, and that's understandable. However, I know that all key stakeholders, including you all here today, have the skill set and, more importantly, the determination and resilience to meet these challenges head on, to recover from the setbacks, and with our best efforts, I know we can bridge the gap and deliver much needed homes for our citizens. As part of the July stimulus, I secured an additional €40 million in funding for the refurbishment of social housing stock. And this funding will be used to get 2,500 existing units back into use this year, before Christmas, before the end of the year, either occupied or allocated. And we need to make better use of our existing social housing stock. And I'm working on measures to ensure that that happens. But that was the single largest investment in existing unoccupied homes to bring them back into use in decades, literally. So 2,500 families and individuals will now have homes this year because of this Voids programme that wouldn't have had them otherwise. Homelessness, colleagues, is an issue that is very close to my heart. And as many of you know, I'm absolutely determined with you to tackle the housing and homelessness crisis that's blighted our state for some time. All of our citizens feel this. This homelessness does not just affect those who are suffering the scourge of it directly. It affects their families and their communities. And Irish people have a strong sense of social justice. And all of us want to see the homelessness issue tackled as an absolute priority. And I am happy to say that we are making progress in that regard. A week after I took up office, I established the high-level homelessness task force, and meeting with frontline homeless services, the people who are dealing with it each day, we help drive solutions and inform decisions on a daily basis. My department is working to ensure that individuals in emergency accommodation are protected from the threat of COVID, while simultaneously seeking long-term housing solutions. We're focused on measures to help rough sleepers, particularly moving them into suitable accommodation, and to reduce single adult homelessness through increasing the delivery of one-bedroom homes. 73% of our adults who are homeless right now today are single people, and we don't have enough housing stock to accommodate them. That's why in July I issued a call for housing, supported by yourselves and managed by our housing agency, with a particular emphasis on one beds and in bringing more of them into the public housing stock. And we will do more of that next year. Some households and individuals experiencing homelessness have additional and sometimes complex support needs. I see this myself in the role that I have as chairperson of the Regional Drugs and Alcohol Task Force, that there are many of our citizens have other challenges on top of a serious one of being homeless. They have mental health, may have addiction issues. So supporting these individuals to exit emergency accommodation, it requires specific, significant health supports. And in some cases, those supports need to be in place on a long-term basis. The provision of additional health supports and homeless services is one of the key homeless commitments in the programme for government. And I've met with my cabinet colleague, Stephen Donnelly, TD Minister for Health, to discuss the need for strong collaboration between our two departments and indeed measures that we need to take together. We will see in the winter plan that the HSE are publishing an additional commitment by the HSE to funding in the housing sector, particularly around the Housing First, an additional 5.5 million just for this winter. Since the introduction of the COVID response, we have seen, thankfully, a significant reduction in the numbers of families accessing emergency accommodation, with nearly 500 fewer families in emergency accommodation since February. But we do need to do more. We need to increase our delivery of social, public and affordable housing, liaising with all relevant stakeholders, including the voluntary housing sector, the state agencies, to ensure we continue to reduce the number of homeless families and individuals and to support these citizens into long-term accommodation. Just to conclude, colleagues, I would like to conclude by really thanking the Irish Council for Social Housing and your staff for organising this important event. In different circumstances, I would have liked to have met you all personally, but hopefully next year and the year after we will be able to do that, and I'm sure that we will. I also want to thank all the speakers, moderators and presenters, and you have a very, very impressive list of contributors, much more impressive than I, coming to speak to you over the coming days. And it's not easy doing this via a digital dimension, which I demonstrated to you earlier on today by not being able to access this, so apologies. But your willingness to contribute to this conference is absolutely commendable and also ensures that this important conference actually takes place. It's important that it does. I do want to thank AIB for once again supporting this conference, which is a vital platform for new thinking, innovation and shared learning. And I know a lot of that will be taking place over the coming days. I do want to take the opportunity, if I could, to commend AIB for continuing to support the provision of social housing through the voluntary housing sector and the recent announcement of the new €300 million social housing fund, which will help and assist approved housing bodies and experienced developers deliver over 2,000 new sustainable A-rated social homes across the country. And most importantly, to all the staff and board members attending from the voluntary housing sector, I personally commend you for all the incredible work you are doing and your continued commitment to the well-being of our society, especially during these challenging times. We all benefit as a society from your ongoing contributions. The voluntary housing sector needs to continue to develop and innovate to achieve the increase in scale and capacity that is much needed to help tackle the housing and homelessness crisis. And I am committed personally, and this government is committed to working with the voluntary sector to achieve this aim and to reach our goals. I know there's so much more to do, and I know the magnitude of the job ahead. I know our citizens want to see real solutions and delivery. I value the important role that the voluntary sector plays in the delivery of housing for our citizens. And I'm looking forward to working with all of you and continuing to work with you during my tenure as Minister. I wish you all a successful and productive conference over the coming days. Gurra míle maith agaibh, Arish.
Minister, thank you very much for that. I think it's very clear your understanding of the brief, your passion in relation to social justice. You could see that in the way your body language, where you moved into the mic there every time you talked about social justice. And we're particularly delighted to hear your call that, you know, everybody deserves a home. Everybody has a right to a home, whether it's rented, leased, built, but that everybody has a right to the home. I think that's been reflected in the last couple of elections. Irish people indeed do have that sense of social justice you referred to. And whether the economy was up or whether the economy was down, people want at the heart of it for all their citizens to have a place to call their own and to be safe and to be and to have shelter. And it is a fundamental issue, because once you have that, you can go on then to get that education you might need, to get your health looked after, to get that job. But you need a key to the door to do that. So thank you very much. You have the full support of the Irish Council for Social Housing over the coming years, and I hope this government delivers and has longevity so that we can assist you to get the job done. So thank you very much, Minister, on behalf of us all. Thank you.
Pat. Thank you, Donald.
So delegates, just to say, just 270 of you have joined us today, and you're very welcome to the 7th biannual finance conference of the Irish Council for Social Housing. We have a range of speakers and chairs for you over the next 3 days. I don't want to mention everybody because I'll forget somebody, but even today alone we have Margaret Geraghty, the Director of Housing from Fingal County Council. We have Sean O'Connor from Tua, and one of the clips in the earlier video was of Sean. We have Declan Dunn from Respond, who recently had their AGM and announced that they're over 750 units ahead of target this year. So a whole range of people coming in. We have a number of people from local government as well, a number of people from the department. I think Doyle will chair the next session, and he will give the full brief of the speakers. But I want to, encourage you to stay with the conference over the next 3 days, to ask as many online questions as you can, to link with your colleagues, and to get the very best you can from the conference. Just before I finish, I want to make 2 special thanks again, if I can. One, to echo what the Minister said, to AIB. They could have chosen to move away from us this year because it was an online conference as opposed to a physical conference, which was originally planned, when they agreed to be our sponsor. But they stuck with us. So I want to thank our partners in AIB, to thank them for how they support our members through loans and other services, and thank them particularly for sponsoring the conference. I too also want to echo what the Minister said, a very useful and helpful contribution from AIB in recent days, where they announced that new fund for social housing. So thank you to you for that. And then finally, I want to thank Donald and all the team. You are doing a fantastic job in the Irish Council for Social Housing, not just today and over the next 3 days, but ongoing, whether it's supporting smaller members to come together and merge, whether it's to support smaller members to get those new board members they want. All the work you've done with us around the data protection, around the COVID-19 guidelines, and to so much more, whether it's the working groups on Tier 3 that you've brought together, whether it's the support around the finances, whether it's the updates in relation to CAS, and so on. You've done a huge amount of work to support our members day in and day out. And you might think we all take you for granted, but given the amount of members that have signed up, have registered this year, given that we have 470 members and colleagues from across the sector tuning into your conference, you're clearly on the right path to continue to help develop this sector going forward. And absolutely finally now, I want to thank the Council of the Irish Council for Social Housing. That's the members who make up our council and the members who make up our board. It's the board that oversees the governance of the Irish Council for Social Housing, and it's the council that oversees the strategic direction. And I want to thank you all for giving of your time, voluntary and extra on top of your day job, to make sure that the council is the council that it is. So without further ado, I want to thank you for having me. I'm over and out now, as Barack Obama used to say, and I'm going to hand you over to Doyle McManus, our CEO, who will chair the next section. Donald.